We're nearly a month into the season, which is crazy to me that it's already gone by so fast. We've had some insane moments, crazy game finishers, game winners, and of course, Wembanyama just looking like an unstoppable force and a guy that is soon poised to take over the league. But there has always been a number of disappointments, things we maybe didn't expect to start the year, and I'm specifically referring to teams that have been huge disappointments thus far in the early going of the season. Some of these teams who have already started off so poorly and so far below expectations that their season is likely already over at this point. And so in this video, I'm going to be going over a few specific teams who have been massive disappointments, some which may have to throw in the towel and call this thing a wrap for the year. Let's talk about it. This message is sponsored by Raycon. Now, we all live busy lives. I've got 2 kids of my own, so there's always surrounding noise wherever I'm trying to concentrate on my work. That's why earbuds are so critical for me. Keep your ears open and your holiday playlist rolling with Raycon's Essential Open Earbuds. These open earbuds let you stay connected to your surroundings while enjoying your favorite music, podcasts, or calls, perfect for a jog, commute, or just kicking back and relaxing. What I love about these earbuds is they're comfortable, light, and the battery life keeps me going all day. Black Friday and Cyber Monday are just around the corner. Raycon audio products are up to 30% off site-wide. For everyday essentials to the latest releases, it's the perfect time to upgrade your sound or get ahead on gifting. These early deals will not last long. Shop now before they're gone, and just click the link in the description or go to buyraycon.com/and1open to save on Raycon audio products site-wide. And thanks again for Raycon for sponsoring this video. Now, I want to be clear that the teams I'm covering here as early season disappointments are, generally speaking, teams that had high expectations, higher aspirations than what we're seeing from them thus far. Like, I'm not going to be calling out the Brooklyn Nets or the Washington Wizards because we expected these teams to be really bad and not win very many games this season. But I'm going to start with a team that I'm sure most people are going to say, well, come on now, no one expected them to be that good, and not after suffering a major injury to their best player and losing one of their key starters in free agency. And even this season, they've gone through their fair share of injuries as well. And yes, I'm talking about the Indiana Pacers. Obviously, we all knew this was going to be a gap year for the Pacers. We knew they weren't going to be contending despite making it to the finals last season, but I did not expect them to be this bad. In my preseason predictions video, I still had them as a play-in team. I didn't think they would make the playoffs, but I thought they would finish somewhere in that 8 to 10 range in the Eastern standings. And the reason why is because despite the fact that we knew they wouldn't have Halliburton or Miles Turner, this would still be a team that had a star player in Pascal Siakam, but also a lot of solid role players, players that had really stepped up in the postseason last year, and above all, a really great coaching staff, one of the best head coaches in the league, in my opinion. I know Matherman has missed some time, same with Obi Toppin, same with Nembhard, but this is a team that has won one game, at the time of this recording anyway, so far this season. They're 1-12. They're on the same tier as the Brooklyn Nets and Washington Wizards. They're 29th in the league on offense, 28th in overall net rating. They're the worst three-point shooting team in the league by far. They jack up a ton of shots. They're actually first in the league in field goal attempts. They get up more shots than any other team in the league, and yet they're dead last in field goal percentage, shooting just 40%. Not from three, 40% from the field. They foul a bunch. They don't move the ball well. Again, I know they're banged up. No one expected them to compete, but I'm shocked they've been this bad, especially when Siakam has been healthy. And they've gotten off to such a bad start that it probably behooves them to truly just embrace the tank, because they're already so well positioned for it now. Try and get a top 5 pick in a stacked draft class and come back the following season healthy with a healthy Halliburton, and you're golden. But right now, it's painful to watch if you're a Pacers fan. The next team I've got shouldn't really be a surprise anyway, but it's the New Orleans Pelicans. I mean, the Pelicans are a mess for so many reasons. Like, forget the fact that even if they wanted to abort this season and just start tanking, they can't, because for some reason they thought it would be a good idea to trade their 2026 pick unprotected to move up in the draft to take Derek Queen. But when you watch this team, everything just looks off. Guys don't seem to be on the same page. Guys are missing assignments on defense. Guys are running around the floor looking lost on offense, running into each other, not cutting to the basket. Very little communication on the court. Guys look disinterested, low energy. It's just all around been bad. The vibes are horrible. Now, Some of that might get a little better now that they fired their coach and Willie Green, as it was being reported that Green had really lost the locker room and the players weren't buying into his system. But I doubt the Pelicans getting a new coach, a new interim coach in James Borrego, is really going to do much in suddenly turning this team around. This is a team that is bottom 5 in the league on offense and defense, bottom 5 in pace, dead last in the league in passing. They play very inefficient half-court isolation heavy style offense. They're the worst perimeter defending team in the NBA. And yes, I know some will say, well, Zion has been out. He's only played in 5 or 6 games this season. There's nothing new about that with Zion. That should be expected at this point if you're the Pelicans. And the reason this has been so disappointing for the Pelicans is because while we all thought they're not going to be competing for a championship, we at least thought they would be somewhat competitive because they had to be. They had to try and win because they don't own their pick. And coming out of the start of the season like this, where they've come out getting obliterated the majority of their games, it's not like these are close losses. They have the worst point differential in the West. So I don't care how you felt about the Pelicans before the start of the season. Maybe you already had low expectations of them to begin with, but they somehow managed to even be worse than those low expectations and have been a huge disappointment thus far, and Hawks fans, I'm sure, are loving every minute of this. Next, and people aren't going to agree with me on this one because they've played slightly better than they did the first couple weeks of the season, but in my view, they've still been a big disappointment relative to expectations, and that's the Orlando Magic. Yes, Magic fans don't like me. Yes, it's because I've always doubted whether their roster is truly set up to compete. I didn't like the Desmond Bane trade. I thought they gave up way too much to get him. I didn't like the max contract extensions to Banchero and Wagner. I'm just not that high on this team, and it's starting to show why. Everyone thought going into the season this team would be a top 3 seed in the East. Some even said they could finish first or second. Some have been talking about how they actually have a legitimate chance to make a finals run. But instead, you're looking at a team that has struggled out of the gate to develop an offensive identity. They're trying to play this new style of offense that is more tailored to modern NBA basketball, where they're trying to play fast, trying to play more in transition rather than heavy ISO half-court offense where Banchero and Wagner are taking a lot of contested mid-range shots, but instead it still just looks clunky, it looks disorganized, guys are turning the ball over at a high rate, they're bottom 5 in the league in passing, still bottom 10 in the league on offense, and of course, the biggest problem the Magic needed to resolve going into the season was their three-point shooting, which they believe would be done by mortgaging their future to get Desmond Bane. Instead, Bane is shooting a career low since his rookie season in overall three-point volume and a career worst 31% three-point percentage. Wagner and Banchero still can't hit threes consistently, and so of course, they're 29th in the NBA in threes made. Now, to be fair, some of that is on coaching. Like, there is no reason that Bane should be shooting such few threes when he's one of the best three-point shooters in the NBA on high volume. And yes, it's disappointing that Mosley isn't taking accountability when it comes to how he's using his rotations and having guys adapt to his new offensive system, but the players, generally speaking, they have been underperforming. Banchero is supposed to be their franchise player, the guy that they thought would be the next superstar. He's not playing up to what you would expect of him. Wagner has been better, but he's still not playing at an all-star level like they're paying him to be. And to me, it's pretty clear this team is not a title contending team by any means, even in a wide open Eastern Conference. And because so many people have had high expectations of them, and a lot of guys on the roster really haven't broken out in the way everyone thought they would, to me, that's been a big disappointment for this team. And then these last two teams I'm going to lump together and go through a little more quickly. Not surprising though, because I think most people would agree with these big disappointments to start the season, and that's the Kings and the Clippers. I'm actually going to start with the Clippers because I feel most probably expected the Kings to be a disaster and a team that was inevitably going to have to blow things up midway through the season. But for most of us expected the Clippers to be better than this. The Clippers are currently 4-9 on the outside looking into the play-in. And while you would say, well, yeah, they're the oldest team in the league, what'd you really expect? Well, I would have expected an experienced veteran team that has a superstar on their roster to at least be a playoff contending team. And instead, this team doesn't even look good enough to make the playoffs. Even when Kawhi has been out there and looked healthy, they still haven't looked that great. Their defense has looked atrocious. They're bottom 10 in the league on offense and defense. They're second to last in the league in pace. Shocker when you have an old team and you have James Harden running point. But what's concerning to me is they turn the ball over a lot more than you should expect for an experienced team. And unlike in years past, they're not being as aggressive in getting downhill and trying to create contact and getting to the foul line. Chris Paul has been a non-factor for them, who knew a 40-year-old wouldn't be able to be a veteran role player they were looking for. Brook Lopez hasn't been the upgrade as a backup center they had hoped. And then, of course, signing Bradley Beal, he goes down with that season-ending injury. And obviously, Kawhi Leonard can't stay healthy and give them consistent minutes. Like, I actually had high hopes, though, for the Clippers and being one of these sneaky teams that other teams are going to overlook, and they've been nothing but disappointing so far. And then for the Sacramento Kings, I mean, what is there to say about the Kings at this point? We knew they would be bad. We knew they would likely have to blow up this roster, but we didn't expect it to start out this bad, where they go 3-11 through their first 14 games, looking non-competitive and checked out for a lot of these games, blowing big leads, a team that can't space the floor, has zero rim protection, can't rebound. Now, to be fair to the Kings, they have had the hardest strength of schedule to date, so maybe they start winning some more games when the schedule lightens up a bit, but no, this team is done. They were done before the season even started. We just needed to see it in action, and it's unfolding right before our eyes that this team has hit its ceiling. They need to tear the whole thing down, trade off all their veterans, Sabonis, DeMar, Zach LaVine, rip off the Band-Aid already and start over, even though, as history would tell us, that's really not going to do much for the Kings anyway, as they always seem to screw things up. Anyway, those are my most disappointing teams to start the NBA season. Let me know what you guys think and where you agree or disagree. Let me know in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.